It's the NFL on CBS. We are in Detroit here inside Ford Field, a game that neither of these teams expected to be playing here. 5-5 Buffalo against the 2-8 New York Jets. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the NFL on CBS with Solomon Wilcots. I'm Spiro Dedes. It does seem trivial to talk about football with what the folks in Western New York have been dealing with. Very simply, this has been a week unlike any other for the Bills.
Yeah, Buffalo is known as a city of good neighbors, so it's no surprise that a team and a town have really come closer together under such trying circumstances. Many of the players have told us how they've been rescued by neighbors, driven to safety on snowmobiles, and now that they've dug their way out of their homes, let's see if they can dig their way out of a two-game losing streak.
Well, no one knows the city of Buffalo quite like Steve Tasker, longtime Buffalo Bill. He's with us here in Detroit. Steve?
Hey, Spiro, this game comes down to three things: distraction, preparation, and rest. The Buffalo Bills got plenty of rest from their last game, but they've been through the meat grinder to get to this point. In fact, I asked a number of people in the Bills organization, including head coach Doug Marrone, who said it best when asked if this team is going to be distracted and unprepared or whether they're going to be refreshed and youthfully exuberant about getting out of Buffalo. He said, "We don't know, but we're going to find out in just a few minutes." Spiro?
And Steve, lost in all the talk of the snow is the fact that this is a game that Buffalo, Solomon, simply has to have. They've lost two straight and suddenly all kinds of issues with their offense.
In two consecutive losses, the team really has struggled inside the red zone on offense. During those last two games, they've gone 0 for 6 down inside the red zone. The offense has hit a flat line, going 7 consecutive quarters without scoring a touchdown. Red zone turnovers have been a problem. Now, as for the New York Jets, Michael Vick has added stability to the entire team. He says instead of focusing on the big plays tonight, he simply wants to focus on the little things. That's protecting the football and eliminating turnovers.
And tonight's game being broadcast in Spanish. We're available using the SAP button on your television. So, Spiro Dedes, Solomon Wilcots, Steve Tasker, our entire CBS crew from Ford Field in Detroit. So much unknown with how Buffalo will come out, as Steve just pointed out. A team that enters the night 5-5, and right now, right on the outer edge of that updated postseason picture in the AFC, there is Doug Marrone, the Bronx-born head coach, and his counterpart across the way, Rex Ryan. And so that seat continues to get a little hotter. Both of these teams well rested. 15 days since the Jets last play. They ended that 8-game losing streak with a Week 10 home win over the Steelers. And 11 days since Buffalo last played that Thursday night loss in Miami. Bills won the toss, elected to defer, and so the Jets with Percy Harvin will play it from deep in their own end zone. Harvin across the 10, takes a hard hit right at the 12-yard line. And tough field position for that man to start. Michael Vick onto the field, a four-time Pro Bowler, 1-1. Solomon's taken over as that starting quarterback for Geno Smith.
Yeah, in those two games, they have not turned the football over, Spiro, and so that's something that Michael Vick really has given his football team. Rex Ryan told us that more than anything, he wants his quarterback to protect the football and do better than what they had done offensively when Geno Smith was the starting quarterback.
The Jets offense has not scored more than 25 points in a game this season. We'll see how that time off does them here tonight. This is Chris Ivory, the 50-year running back, on the first take. Minimal pickup of a yard. DeBrickashaw Ferguson headlining the front for the New York Jets. 4th overall pick back in 06. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. Backs and receivers, no Bilal Powell tonight. He is a scratch under the weather. Percy Harvin, who has had some exploits, Solomon, in this building. Tonight making just his 4th appearance as a Jet. 2nd and 9 from the 15. Vic, quick little strike near side. That's Harvin. Trying to get him a little bit more involved. Minimal pickup of a couple. Tackle made by the defensive end, Jerry Hughes. This is a vaunted front, arguably the best in the NFL. We just saw Hughes, Marcel Darius. What a season he has had. Tied for 4th in the NFL in sacks, 1st among defensive tackles. Preston Brown, their stud rookie linebacker, and their leading tackler entering this one tonight. And Corey Graham making yet another start. Pro Bowler in 2011. No Leotis McKelvin, as he has done for the season. That fractured ankle in Miami. You saw Jim Schwartz, former coach here in Detroit of the Lions for the last 5 years. 3rd and 7 from the 17. Vic has time, guns over the middle, deflected high in the air, and what a play by Harvin, Solomon, just to get to it And what could very well have been an interception.
Looked like Nickell Robey broke on this pass from Michael Vick. And take a look at Vicks. You see, look where the head is. And if anywhere he goes, that's where you want to break on the ball. Nickell Robey is able to do that. Nearly intercepted the ball. It took Percy Harvin coming back to it to prevent the interception.
Bills defense 8th in the NFL in scoring defense, allowing just over 20 points per game. Ryan Quigley on to punt, and not a good one, as Buffalo will have a short field to work with. Fred Jackson watching it take a Bills bounce, a 27-yard punt from Quigley. Here comes Kyle Orton. What a start he had. 2 game-winning drives, Solomon, over his first 3 starts. Took over week 5 for E.J. Manuel. But they have had some issues, as you pointed out, the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he talked about it. He said he doesn't want to overthink it. He wants to get back to just being comfortable and confident playing from the pocket. More importantly, they've moved the football, but they've got to do better at punching it in down inside the red zone.
Fred Jackson, who has been dealing with a groin injury, has sat 2 of the last 3 weeks. Here he is back on the field, takes a hard hit right at the 40. Inside that 40-yard line by the Brooklyn native, Jaquan Jarrett, who had that incredible performance against the Steelers. Eric Wood, one of the best centers in the NFL, 6th year in the league, lines up right in front of Orton. We mentioned Fred Jackson. Buffalo hoping that he can give them some more balance with the running game. That has just not been the case. C.J. Spiller, of course, has been out since week 7 with injury. 2nd and 4, play action pass. Orton, little screen. Here's to Jackson inside the 35, lunges ahead to the 32. First down pickup of 6 as Buffalo moves the chains. Oh, we mentioned about the defensive front for Buffalo. This one, not too shabby. Muhammad Wilkerson probably has been the best Jet on either side of the field the last 2 years. David Harris has been their leading tackler 6 of the last 7 years. So steady in the middle for Rex Ryan. And the back end, this has been the Achilles heel, but what a performance from Jarrett. First NFL start a couple of weeks ago against the Steelers. AFC's Defensive Player of the Week. Sack, forced fumble, and his first 2 career interceptions. Anthony Booby Dixon on the field gives Jackson a blow. Here he is on 1st and 10 as he gets to the 30-yard line. And Solomon, they are inching closer to the red zone where they have had just monster issues offensively.
Yeah, and the answers to those red zone problems, we talked about it. Doug Marrone's group 0 for 6 down inside the red zone over the last 2 games. They lost both games. I think they've got to get back to really being able to power the run game. I think Fred Jackson being back healthy is going to help them do that. And Booby Dixon has to be able to power the run game also.
2nd and 8. Dixon alone setback. Orton's going to take a shot near side. And the officials say it is a completed pass. That's Robert Woods, the 2nd-year target. Tackle made by Darren Walls, 16 yards and a first down.
Remember Orton said he had to get back to being comfortable and confident. That throw, the back shoulder fade to Woods, this is timing. This is about rhythm and tempo and having a good feel for the game. It's something I think was absent from Kyle Orton's game over the last 2 weeks. You can see 21 straight drives on offense without a touchdown.
Last time was in that opening quarter against Kansas City at home back in week 10. Here's Dixon inside the 10. Football came loose. No signal yet from the officials. Jets say they have it. What's the call here?
Saying he may be down by contact. I'm not so sure.
And it looks as though Doug Marrone and Buffalo will maintain possession. It was a run of 9 yards by Dixon.
Oh, there's the hit to the knee. Okay, arm down, then the ball came out. And we said coming in at the top in our open that turnovers down inside the red zone has been part of the problem. There you can see he does have possession of the ball. When the forearm makes contact with the ground, that would signify down by contact.
2nd and 1. Jackson back on the field. Bills needing to get to the 4 for a first down. This one will depend on the spot. Clock continues to run. We wondered how Buffalo would fare tonight. Limited practice time. They went 8 days, Solomon, between practices as the officials have signaled 1st and goal for Buffalo, but not a bad offensive start.
Spiro, let us not forget that 4 weeks ago when these 2 teams met, Buffalo really put it on the New York Jets. They won by 20 points in that game, and they got off to a very fast start, putting the ball into the end zone.
You see Buffalo's red zone ranks. Here is Dixon. inches closer. They're spotted right around the 2-yard line. Buffalo 9th in the NFL, Solomon, in terms of trips in the red zone, but they are dead last in that touchdown rate of just under 39%.
Very last in the National Football League in terms of red zone production, where we said they had fallen off 7 straight quarters without a touchdown, going all the way back to a couple of weeks ago in their game against Kansas City. They scored in the first quarter of that game, and they have not scored a touchdown since.
8th play of this game-opening drive. Orton, little pitch play. Here's Jackson. Cuts back to the 10. Jets able to recover. Jackson barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. Excellent coverage and recovery by the Jets. The safety, DeJuan Landry, and Quentin Coples leading the charge.
Yeah, and then it's Chris Gregg, number 89. He tries to get the block there, but look, Allen turns the play back into the defense. Excellent play, containing the football, forcing Fred Jackson to cut it up inside. That's where there were more defenders to help come away with the tackle. Good red zone defense right now by the New York Jets.
Well, can this Jet defense that had the best performance of the season a couple of weeks ago against the Steelers hold here? All kinds of movement pre-snap. And this one against Buffalo.
Oh, plays like this will certainly thwart your ability to score down inside the red zone. Well, you know Doug Marrone knows he wants to be able to break this jinx early on, but see the movement? And Scott Chandler moved, tight end, lined up on the left side. Let's see what they come away, crucial third down play.
Well, Doug Marrone told us yesterday, all your faults as an offense are magnified in the red zone. Where do they go here? 3rd and goal, Orton end zone. It is caught. Woods for the Buffalo touchdown.
Now this is just execution, and it's going to be a good throw. Now take a look at the vision. There you go, right there. He sees Woods all the way. Back shoulder, where the defender, David Harris, took away the front side throw. It's just excellent throw, but what an adjustment by Robert Woods to go back shoulder, get his body turned around, and haul it in for his quarterback, Kyle Lord.
Well, for anyone wondering how the Bills would start this game after the week that they've had, you could put those fears to rest. 7-yard strike. Dan Carpenter on for the point after. And the Bills throwing down the gauntlet, jumping out to the 7-0 lead. Orton to Woods. And a second-year receiver puts Buffalo in front. Well, so much for that long drought. 21 straight drives between scoring for Buffalo's offense. 7-yard strike. Orton to that man, Woods, as he comes through with his first touchdown in quite some time. Woods only his 3rd all season. Percy Harvin watching his teammate field that football. It was John Connor, the fullback, as he crosses the 20. Michael Vick and the Jets offense back onto the field when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Pizza Hut. We're taking pizza where it's never been before. And by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry.
A little toastier here at Ford Field than it is at this hour at Ralph Wilson Stadium in Buffalo. And how about these Bills fans that have tried to fill up this stadium in what is a makeshift home game? 7-0 Buffalo lead. Pitch play to Ivory on 1st and 10. Lost his footing as he tries to cut back. So, Solomon, what about the Jets? They're playing out the string, of course, only 2-8, but a much different vibe around this group with Vick under center and that win over the Steelers.
Yeah, I think it's a different team than the one that the Bills faced 4 weeks ago. Yeah, Michael Vick has brought stability to the team. I think more confidence than what Geno Smith were able to provide. And then Percy Harvin, an electric player, out on the corner. But that win over the Pittsburgh Steelers has, I think, infused his team with more confidence. Michael Vick has said it's time to go out and prove that we're a better football team.
2nd and 14. Chris Johnson lines up in the slot. Vick's pass is incomplete. Off the hands of Johnson, who was covered beautifully by that Buffalo defense. Among the players, Graham and Bradham. It'll be 3rd and 14.
Well, how about the Buffalo Bills, though? They've come off and gotten off to the fast start that they talked about. And they really got off to a fast start in that game 4 weeks ago. And Doug Marrone knows that his team has had cabin fever. They've been snowed in, and many of the players we talked to were eager to get on the field to play tonight's game.
Jets 29th in the NFL in scoring. Second most 3-and-outs in the league. Vic from the gun on 3rd and long. Vic steps up, flushed out, off-balance throw, too low and incomplete, intended for Jeff Cumberland, the tight end. And once again, the Jets forced to punt.
Well, remember, this is the best pass rushing defense in the National Football League. Even against a mobile quarterback like Michael Vick, you have to contain him. He gets out, but Michael Vick doesn't reset his feet. So for all the athleticism, for all the mobility, fundamentals still have to take place if you're going to throw the ball with a high level of accuracy.
Well, here is Quigley, who's had a pretty good year. 4th in the league with a net average of 42.5. Shanked his first, just 27 yards. And set up Buffalo with the short field. Fred Jackson signals fair catch. And that's where Orton and company will start. Much better punt from Quigley. 51 yards. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Oh, with NFL Mobile, you could stream live local Sunday afternoon, primetime games, and NFL Red Zone right on your smartphone. Learn more right now at NFL.com/mobile. Ford Field, downtown Detroit, where the wind gusts were violent today. You can feel the building shake around downtown. Luckily, we're indoors here. Spiro Dita, Solomon Wilcott, Steve Tasker. The rest of our CBS crew, 1st and 10. Buffalo lines up just outside the 30. Here's Bryce Brown. Minimal pickup, Solomon, as we go back to that very impressive game-opening drive for the Bills.
Kyle Orton said he wanted to be relaxed and comfortable to get back to playing at a very high level. He goes 3 for 3 on the drive. He did come out very confident. And how about Robert Woods making plays for his quarterback, even on the back shoulder throw? So Kyle Orton getting off to a good start, breaking that streak of 21 consecutive drives without scoring a touchdown.
2nd and 7. They line up just inside 35. Here is Brown again, had that critical fumble in that game against the Chiefs.
Number 79 offense, 10-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
That's Eric Pierce. Pete Morelli is our referee tonight.
We're going to see 79 right there. Working against Sheldon Richardson.
Pierce, the 9th-year guard alongside Wood. So 2nd and 17 after the penalty. We come up on 6 minutes to play in this first quarter. Jackson, the lone setback. Orton from the gun. Some pre-snap movement. Could be a free play for the Bills. Orton fires far side. That's the tight end, Lee Smith, who backs up Scott Chandler. We'll see what the penalty is here. Look like it'll be against the Jets. Pass play goes for a dozen. And this one against Buffalo.
Wow.
Offside, 98 defense. The penalty is declined. 3rd down.
Morelli faking everyone out, so it is indeed against the Jets. It's on Copels. So the 12-yard first down pass play stands, and they move the chains.
The one thing the Buffalo Bills believe they can really do better on offense, and that is run the football. Last year, they were one of the best rushing offenses in the National Football League.
Sally, apparently it was against Buffalo, so 3rd and 5. After that offensive false start, the pass from Morton near side intended for Sammy Watkins is incomplete. Coverage by Darren Walls. Morelli first said against Buffalo, then signaled against the Jets, but it was indeed a 3rd and 5, and now Buffalo forced to punt.
And they can't execute on the back shoulder fade to Sammy Watkins. Good coverage by Walls.
There's Curley standing back deep from his own 15-yard line. And Colton Schmidt on for his first task of the night. Curley watches it take a bounce. He'll play it from just inside the 20. Curley finds the edge, crosses the 30. Still going. Curley's got some real estate. And finally brought down inside Buffalo territory at the 40-yard line. There is a penalty marker behind the play. Manny Lawson somehow got him around the ankles. 48-yard punt. Curley runs it back for 41.
Well, even Rex Ryan was shocked and surprised.
Number 27 of the kicking team voluntarily went out of bounds during the kick. The 5 yards will be added to the end of the run. Timeout.
So excellent return by Curley. Jets looking for their first points on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. and by TD Ameritrade.
A look at our fabulous CBS crew. Producer Jonathan Siegel sitting in for Vic Frank, Chris Fenson, Andy Friedman, Justin Haley, and the rest of the crew here. 7-0 Buffalo. Short field, best starting position that the Jets have had. Here is Chris Johnson, the three-time Pro Bowler. Inside the 35, Jets trying to cut into this early deficit as Johnson picks up 5 on the ground. Let's visit again for more on the Jets now. Steve Tasker. Steve?
Game being on the road for the Jets. It's a normal road game at a neutral site, and they got an extra day to prepare. Plus, they did not have to play in the elements in Buffalo, so the Jets getting a couple of breaks on a lot of different fronts, just as the Bills got the worst end of that.
Little pitch play. Curley took the direct snap, and then a little pitch to Johnson. Buffalo trying to recover defensively. Everyone talked about how the Bills were affected. The Jets had to change around their travel plans as well, Solomon, as we take a look at some trickery here from Marty Morningwing.
Well, they can run the ball in any kind of weather, but even in talking to Michael Vick, he said there's no wind inside this stadium at Ford Field. It's not a wet football. And they kind of winked at us a little bit as if they knew they were catching a break coming here to Detroit to play this game indoors.
Percy Harvin lines up in the I formation. Said only a decoy. This is the fullback Connor. Wide load, has a Jet first down to the 15-yard line as he gashes him for 13.
Well, this is what the Jets can do, and they can do it very well. 5th best rushing attack in the National Football League. And look, they're just handed on a straight dive to the fullback. He cuts it back. He breaks tackles at the line of scrimmage. Their ability to power it into the second level, if they can get this element of their offense going, it'll go a long way into slowing down that vaunted Buffalo Bills pass rush tonight.
Rare carry for the fullback Connor. Keep in mind, no Powell tonight. Their third running back, a late stretch due to illness. 1st and 10. Vic from the gun is passed through the hands of the intended receiver. It's incomplete. Looking for Percy Harvin. Well, Thursday Night Football returns in 2 weeks. Romo and the Cowboys. Big win last night. They'll take on the Bears as two of the NFL's storied franchises meet in prime time. Thursday Night Football returns Thursday, December the 4th, 8 Eastern, kick live on NFL Network. Early struggles for Vic as you see incomplete on 4 of his first 5 passes, only a couple of yards. 2nd and 10 from the Bills 15. Draw play. This is Johnson. Still elusive. On pace, Solomon, for by far the fewest rushing yards of his career, but pretty good as a number 2 option.
They're getting it going now with this read option look where expect Michael Vick at some point to keep it, but with the defensive end staying to the outside, that leaves a seam on the inside. He's just going to ride it and give it to Chris Johnson. And so the read option, I think, is a great element in this offense with Michael Vick. He still has that rare ability, more rushing yards than any quarterback in the history of the National Football League.
Broke that record in Buffalo. And a historic moment. Penalty markers whistle that play dead.
Neutral zone infraction, number 55. Defense, 5-yard penalty will result of the play will be a first down.
No, Jerry Hughes, remember this defense, they almost play the run on the way to the quarterback. He's trying to get a good jump against that left tackle, DeBrickashaw Ferguson, who's talented in his own right, and Hughes wants to get to the quarterback. All 4 of these guys, the front 4, relentless in their ability to pass rush and come away with sacks.
1st and goal after the penalty. They mark it inside the 5. And once again, Vic from the shotgun. Bills coming. Here comes Williams. And he gets to Vic around the ankles from the back. 11th sack of the season for the Pro Bowler Williams.
These guys are athletic. We already saw Manny Lawson making a play on special teams, but there he is coming off the top. And even though they get a deep set by the right tackle, he's still able to just speed around the corner to get to a very athletic Michael Vick. And Mario Williams is 11th sack on the season. They don't have to blitz to get pressure on the quarterback in Buffalo.
And that moves Williams now into 3rd in the NFL with his 11 sacks. 2nd and goal. Fake handoff to Harvin. Bills defense wasn't fooled, and guess who? It's Williams again. The 3-time Pro Bowler gets to Vic after a pickup of only 1.
Well, this defensive line, they can make plays. And I think if you're Michael Vick, you have to understand against this defensive front, you've got to get rid of the ball very quickly. You don't get to go deep into your progression to the 4th or 5th guy. And that's Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator, former head coach here in Detroit. And his team leads the league in sacks for a reason. They can come after you with the best of them.
Schwartz and Buffalo a winner here back in Week 5 against the Lions. 3rd and goal. Vick going through his progressions, going end zone, nearly picked. Incomplete. Graham had it. And a sigh of relief on that jet sideline.
Well, this secondary, they're well coordinated with the front four. We talk about getting pressure on the quarterback. Now watch the head of Michael Vick. Comes to his left, comes to his right. Now he comes all the way back to the center in time for Graham to cut underneath the intended receiver. Looked like he was trying to go to Jay Samaro, his intended tight end.
27-yard attempt from Nick Folk. One-time Pro Bowler as a rookie with Dallas. And Folk is good on the chip shot field goal to get the Jets offense onto the board. 7-3 Buffalo. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Well, people affected by severe weather and other disasters need help now. To support those impacted by disasters like the winter storms in Buffalo and countless other crises, you can text Red Cross to 90999 to give just $10 to American Red Cross Disaster Relief. CBS cares, and our thoughts with those folks in Western New York. The death toll at 13 as of a couple of days ago. Just incredible devastation in that part of the country. And these Bills fans coming from all over to support Buffalo in what is a makeshift home game tonight here in Detroit. They fielded off a bounce. That's Marcus Easley, one of the backup wide receivers, as he is brought down just short of the 20 return of 13. Let's check in again down on the field with Steve Tasker.
Yeah, as you read that promo about the storm in Buffalo, it was both catastrophic and affirming as the people around neighbors and neighborhoods came out of the woodwork to help their neighbors and to help people through the storm. And also, as catastrophic as it was, the well wishes and prayers and thoughts that came from around the country were also so much appreciated, and it meant so much to the people, and still does to the people of Western New York.
Well said, Steve. 1st and 10 inside the 20. Orton play action over the middle. It is caught out of the backfield. Looks like Chris Gregg, the tight end, for a pickup of 5. We visited Salmon with Orton, the head coach, and Kyle had an interesting story. His wife and kids were back home in her hometown of Baton Rouge. That was the plan before the storm. Orton, of course, wasn't as lucky. He lived in one of the harder hit areas in Orchard Park. He walked down the street, said, no exaggeration, it took him about 40 minutes to walk 400 yards to his teammate Eric Wood's house in the same neighborhood. So he started running low on food towards the end of the week, and that was an issue that a lot of these Bills players had, of course, with the thousands of others in that part of the country, as Brown picks up a short pickup of a yard.
And we talk about Doug Marrone, even the head coach for the Bills, this entire Bills team, they all rallied together with the community there in Buffalo.
7-3 Buffalo. Start of the second quarter. Spiro Dita, Solomon Wilcox, Steve Tasker, rest of our CBS crew from Ford Field in Detroit. 3rd and 4 play for Orton and company. 7-yard touchdown on their opening drive to Robert Woods. Jets answering with a chip shot field goal, and that is where we stand. 7-3 to start the second.
Remember, they moved around a lot on that defense.
Orton has time, airs it out up the slot. Intended for Woods. It falls incomplete. So Buffalo will punt. Salmon, we mentioned some of the issues that they've had to deal with. So many parts of this story. We spoke to Doug Marrone. He was effusive in his praise of the Lions organization for their help.
Yeah, he was very complimentary of the Detroit Lions. They said the team helped with the transition, providing all the resources they needed, all the video equipment, meeting rooms, etc., for his team to feel right at home. Remember, they didn't get to even be on the practice field until they arrived here in Detroit on Friday.
Another punt from Schmidt. And a fair catch signaled by Curley from just inside the 40. Couple of penalty markers come in behind the play. 36-yard punt. And we wait the call from referee Pete Morelli.
During the kick, illegal block in the back, number 10 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's on T.J. Graham of the Jets. Coming up Thanksgiving Day, right next to the turkey and stuffing and a pumpkin pie. Chicago, Detroit, right here in a Motown showdown. All begins with JB, Tony Bart, Coach, and Boomer on a special holiday edition of the NFL Today at noon. You'll get a special look at Jared Allen doing some wonderful work, helping to build some homes for vets, all part of the Wounded Warrior Project. Just one of the many stories we'll be sharing with you on Thanksgiving. Here's Michael Vick under center, just 1 for 6. Incomplete on 5 straight attempts. Ivory the lone setback, Vick under pressure, and nearly threw it right to the defender on the play. That was the safety, Aaron Williams. And Vick saw him and looking out of sorts here at the start.
Oh, how about the pressure provided by Jerry Hughes? Look, it's just going to be a rollout, but watch Hughes gets right in the face of Michael Vick, right there, forcing the early throw. That ball nearly intercepted. And look, Williams is coming. Jerry Hughes is coming. This is the 3rd time Michael Vick has nearly been intercepted in the early going of the game.
You see the 6 consecutive incompletions, 3rd straight start for Vick. After taking over for Geno Smith against these Bills in Week 8, a little short pass to Ivory. The 50-year runner, they pick up 5 yards. Well, easy to say he's struggling, but this is a very tough defense to go against.
Yeah, we talked about it. He knows that this team is going to come after it. See, that one was nearly intercepted. This is a low throw because he doesn't set his feet. He doesn't see Corey Graham coming over. That ball's nearly picked off as well. He said that this is a defense. He knows they're going to make their plays against him. He said, I have to hang in there and be able to make plays when the opportunity arrives. So when a receiver is open, Michael Vick simply has to hang in there and throw the ball after him.
35, Vick flushed out. Going to use that mobility of his. Lunges close to the first down. He's forced out by Preston Brown, the rookie linebacker. Appears to be a couple of yards short as they will punt.
Well, more importantly, he's got to protect the football. He's rolling out. Kyle Williams giving chase. Look, the linebackers, Nigel Bradham, Preston Brown, very fast, playing for their defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz.
3rd 3 and out for the Jets offense as they continue to trail 7-3. Early stages, 2nd quarter. Brady responding with a 51-yard punt. After that shank early, and set up Buffalo's first touchdown. Fred Jackson takes on a hard hit right after the catch. 48-yard punt and a return of 5 yards. 7-3 Buffalo. You're watching the NFL on CBS. I'll get the fastest football scores and updates with the CBS Sports app. It's the fastest app for sports fans. Download now the CBS Sports app. 7-3 Buffalo. Couple of minutes gone by, 2nd quarter. 1st and 10 from inside the 20. Orton play action, fakes right. Near side pass over the outstretched arms of Fred Jackson and falls incomplete. We mentioned that long scoring drought, Solomon, that they addressed and ended with that opening drive, and it seems to have settled some nerves for them.
Yeah, it kind of ended that red zone hex that had been hovering over the Buffalo Bills and their quarterback Kyle Orton, needing to get the ball into the end zone for his head coach Doug Marrone. Now, remember, this is a team in the midst of a playoff race. Getting back to playing very well on offense with the kind of pass rush they have and the kind of defense that they have, the offense has to be more productive if they're going to be considered a serious contender to make the postseason.
2nd and 10. Orton throwing again, near side again, unable to locate Woods. Excellent defensive play from that Jets secondary. That's Darren Walls, who sat the last couple of games with a calf injury, steps into the passing lane.
Now tell me, if you loft this ball, if you put air under it, this is going to be a completion. But he throws it on the line as Walls cuts underneath. That's why he can make a play. If you throw that ball with a higher trajectory, Woods is going to run under it and away from Walls, and the Bills are going to have themselves a big play. You have to have a better throw from Kyle Orton on that play.
And you wonder just how good this Jet defense could have been this season if that secondary was up to par. All kinds of injuries. And even beyond that, just some very poor play. 3rd and 10. Orton hit on the release. Far side, he finds the rookie Watkins. His first reception, first down Buffalo. A pickup of 17 yards.
Oh, this is just going to be a much better throw from Kyle Orton. Remember, against double coverage. Look, DeJuan Landry underneath, playing over the top as well. And look, they're still able to make the completion with Adams over the top, Landry underneath. Still a good throw, tends to beat good coverage.
Watkins bothered the last couple of games with that groin injury. Doug Marrone saying that he looked explosive this week in practice, really for the first time since that Week 7 injury. Keep it on the ground to Fred Jackson. Minimal pickup of a couple of yards. What a year it's been for Jackson, for Watkins rather. That game-winning touchdown Week 7 to beat Minnesota, and a career performance against the Jets. Nearly 160 yards saw him in Week 8.
Yeah, and he's the guy that I think was at the top of this rookie draft class of wide receivers. Over the last couple of weeks, though, had been hampered with that growing injury. I believe that, this time off, I think it's allowed them time to heal. 11 games, or I should say 11 days since they played their last game, and now he appears to be back.
Play action from Orton, 2nd and 8, throws off his back foot. That's the backup running back, Boobie Dixon, crosses the 45-yard line, appears to have enough for another Buffalo first down. And T.J. Barnes, who was a late addition to their active roster tonight, able to make the tackle.
The offense is going now because Kyle Orton is getting going, as we saw on that very first possession. He's starting to really read the defense well, making better throws, and really making good decisions as to when to check the ball down to his backs coming out of the backfield.
See the balance between the run and pass. Dixon again. Solid, what a wild year it's been for Buffalo. When you think back, the 2-0 start, E.J. Manuel then struggles. They make the quarterback change. The snowstorm, everything they've had to deal with the last couple of weeks. And oh, by the way, a change in ownership. Of course, the late Ralph Wilson and his family relinquishing ownership earlier this season.
I remember they began the first half of the season 5-3 at the halfway point. They did replace E.J. Manuel as their starting quarterback, and then had worked their way to a 5-1 record with Kyle Orton as their starter. They've lost 2 in a row. They're now 5-5, and they've got to begin to dig their way out.
Well, the feeling is if they have any hope of getting in a very competitive AFC postseason, they have to win this one tonight. Scott Chandler with his first reception. They move inside Jets territory. A strong connection between the Wilson family. Ralph Wilson, their late owner, who spent and lived most of his life, saw him here in Detroit. And actually that win here against the Lions earlier in the season was the final game that the Wilson family owned Buffalo before relinquishing rights to Terry Perdula and his family.
So how fitting is it that the Buffalo Bills have found a home, or a second home, here in Detroit, the home of their late owner, Ralph Wilson.
And you see what Orton has done. He is spreading the wealth. 8 completions to 7 different receivers. And this will be the 8th play of the drive, 3rd and 4. Orton fires. It is caught. What appears to be short. It's Chris Hogan, the Ramapo, New Jersey native. Grew up just a couple of short miles from MetLife Stadium. Appears to be about a half-yard short.
Well, there you see him. He's going to go out to his right side. Makes the catch. Chris Hogan, nicknamed 7-11 because he's always open. Even Doug Marrone likes the play that Chris Hogan has brought to this offense.
You like this decision?
I do like it. And I know the word aggressive is a sensitive word for many of the Buffalo fans, but Doug Marrone, he'll go for it.
And Marrone has been criticized for being a little bit too conservative, and it looks like the Jets hold here. Rex Ryan nearly jumped out of his sneakers on the top of your screen, and it looks like the Jets are going to get off the field as Dixon comes up short.
Now, I'll say this. I'm okay for him going for it. Why? Because the Buffalo Bills defense right now is playing dominant, and even though you go for it here, and if you don't make it, you expect your defense to hold, you don't mind giving the Jets field position right here.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the all-new LG G3, the world's first smartphone with laser autofocus. Kay Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And by the all-new 2015 Honda Fit. The new Fit is a great fit for you.
Marone's decision to go for it on 4th down comes up empty. I'm certainly confident in this Bills defense as they turn it over on downs. Vic under center, 1st and 10 from his own 45. Vic fakes the handoff, fires over the middle. It's in Buffalo territory. That's Curley. Had the nifty return earlier, Solomon, as we go back to the 4th down hold by the Jets.
Take a look at number 91. That's going to be Richardson. He beats the double team by the guard, Eric Pierce, and the right tackle, Chantrell Henderson. They can't keep him out of the backfield. He knifes in, stuffs Dixon to prevent the 1st down. Excellent front seven here for the New York Jets, and Richardson, a former 1st-round pick. This guy was Defensive Rookie of the Year 1 season ago.
Already matching his sack output from last season. Here's Ivory, bounces to the outside. 1st down run inside the 35-yard line. Ivory, who has been so effective for them of late, able to churn out 11 yards and a Jet 1st down.
Oh, you love his ability to go ahead and bounce it. You know, he's a speed guy, but he's also got power. Now, take a look. There's a hole there. They close it up. With Brandon Spikes getting in there, he's able to bounce and get to the edge of the defense for a really nice run on the play. And this defense is the reason why the head coach, Doug Marrone, decided to go for it. They've been doing such a good job of slamming the door shut on this Jets running game, not allowing Michael Vick to make completions. And so Marrone is counting on the defense to come up with a stop.
Ivory approaching 600 yards on the ground on the season. Here's the Jets' leading rusher.
Offense, 5-yard
Vick and company didn't get it off in time.
1st down.
And that'll cost him some valuable penalty yardage.
You know, Mike Vick is struggling right now in terms of just managing the game, getting the ball out of his hands, seeing and reading the defense, and then throwing the ball with great accuracy. And so he's got to begin to settle in. He knows this is a second chance for his career as well. He talked about, you know, accepting the role, backing up Geno Smith. He said, but I have always wondered what it would be like if I was provided another opportunity. He says he's excited for this opportunity. Now he's got to play well for this Jets football team.
New York Jets,
all kinds of issues.
Timeout.
And at the moment, after the penalty, they're forced to burn their 1st timeout. There's Marty Morningweg. He can't believe it.
He's asking, did they reset the clock?
It did seem to be an awfully quick whistle. Rex Ryan asking for an explanation from referee Pete Morelli. So 7-3 Buffalo. Jets trying to drive. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Delay of game penalty, and then the Jets forced to burn a timeout. 1st and 15 from the 39. Vick going through his progressions, completes over the middle. 1st reception tonight for Eric Decker. The argument on that Jet sideline, Sally, was did the play clock start prematurely? It has to be reset after a penalty to 25 as opposed to 45, but I don't think Rex is going to like that explanation, but appeared to be the right situation.
Well, they did reset it to 25, but yet they ran out of time, and they weren't prepared. And so then they had to burn a timeout, and they shouldn't have had to. They should have been prepared for it to reset to 25 and not 45.
Clock continues to run. Play action from Vick on 2nd and 6. Williams get to him again for his 2nd sack of the night.
Mario Williams is a handful, and he's just right now tearing this offensive line apart. Look, they can't keep him out. He's just a train wrecker. Jason Morrow providing help. It looks like 2 tight ends trying to block him, and that's just not going to be enough. You have to have a greater assignment, putting big on big offensive lineman on a big man like Mario Williams. You can't not block him with the smaller tight ends.
Williams now 3rd in the NFL. 2 sacks tonight. He's got a dozen for the season. His career high 14 back in 07, his 2nd year in the league, as another penalty marker whistles that play dead.
False start. Number 68 offense. 5-yard penalty remains. 3rd down.
That is Breno Giacomini, the tackle. It is 7th year out of Louisville. The Jets offense ragged, to say the least.
Yeah, and you wonder why he's going to move. That's because he's lined up across from Mario Williams. Mario Williams, the 2 sacks he has in tonight's game, this Buffalo Bills defense now have 2 or more sacks in every single game this season. Offensive lineman must stay up at night trying to protect against his defensive line.
3rd and 21. Vick, that pass deflected and it's incomplete. Vick trying to thread the needle to Decker. And an ugly drive will end with yet another punt.
Well, this is why you can go for it on the 4th and 1, Spiro, because Doug Marrone is armed with a defense like this, providing pressure on the offensive line, pressure on the opposing quarterback, and, normally pressure turns into picks. This secondary, they better get their hands ready because the way the ball's coming out of Michael Vick's hands, they're going to have a chance to pick one off tonight.
Jets have 51 yards of total offense. Fair caught by Fred Jackson. And Vick, if you've just joined us, just 4 of 11 for 25 yards. Yet the Jets only down 4.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by T. Rowe Price. Understanding the connections of a complex global economy. Invest with confidence. And by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly.
7-3 Buffalo, just inside 6 minutes left in the first half. Let's go downstairs. Steve Tasker standing by with the commissioner of the NFL, Roger Goodell.
Yeah, I am here with Roger. Roger, talk to me about when did you get the first shot across the bow about what might happen to this game and why it might have to be moved?
Well, Steve, we were obviously following all the developments, and our first issue was making sure that we didn't interfere with public safety and making sure that all the resources that needed to go to the people who needed help were going to be provided, and that we didn't get a football game in the way. And I spoke to the governor on Thursday, and he was clear that they had a lot of issues that they needed to resolve, and that it would be better if we moved the game. So we made plans to do that.
At its darkest point, what was the worst case scenario about what might happen to this game?
Well, the darkest point really was, again, to get out of the way and to try to move the game where the fans could have access. You see a lot of Bills fans here. It was great for them to be able to come over, and this was a logical thing for us. We obviously had football issues that we had to deal with because the team really couldn't practice most of the week, and we wanted to give them an extra day to prepare for the game.
Now, one other question just occurred to me. What about the game next week in Buffalo? Are there any second thoughts about that one?
No, we're going to obviously follow, but talking to the Bills folk, and we believe that that's going to be able to be done in a successful way without doing any stress towards the resources in Buffalo.
Thanks for giving us a moment, Roger.
Oh, this is fun. Thank you.
Travel safe.
You bet. Thank you.
Spiro.
So good news from the commissioner. The Bills hope to be back at Orchard Park next week. I think that's bad news for the visiting Cleveland Browns.
The plan is to fly home after this game tonight. Third down pass is complete. What a catch by Woods, who had the touchdown earlier. And that is a first down reception by Woods, 5 yards from Orton.
Yeah, and Orton just doing a good job. See, he's working the defense now. Started to go to his left. Came clear back to the other side as he's going through his progression, and he's going to find Woods underneath. Walls tried to undercut it, but right now Orton's making good decisions, throwing the ball very accurately, seems to be back in sync with his receivers. You can see he's spreading the ball around tonight between the receivers, tight ends, and running backs.
Bryce Brown back over the field, gives Jackson a blow. Draw play, this is Brown, the 30-year runner out of Kansas State. Across the 25, picks up 5. Tackled by Trevor Riley and the inside linebacker David Harris. Coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. We'll hear from Adam Shine and the guys from NFL Monday QB. They'll get you caught up on all of Sunday's action, plus first half analysis here in Detroit. We'll get Sally's take. It's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. So 2nd and 5. Clock continues to run. Bills with all 3 timeouts. And leading the Jets 7-3. Little short pass to Hogan. And a New Jersey native trying to get to that first down marker. We'll see where the officials spot it. He picks up 3 and appears to be short.
Oh, Chris Hogan's doing everything he can. Look, stiff arm on Landry, then gives up the body.
Stepped out of bounds.
He stepped out of bounds before he was able to lunge forward and hit the first down mark.
Hogan, the former collegiate star at Monmouth, has really come on of late. Career 7 catches in that loss 11 days ago in Miami. 3rd and 2. Orton pump fakes, airs it out far side. One-handed stab. Masterful play by Woods. There is a penalty marker behind the Jets secondary. If it stands, it's a 27-yard pass play.
Well, there was a hand fight between he and the defender. Looks like he's going to go against the defense.
Pass interference, number 30, defense. The penalty is declined. Result of the play, the first down.
Darren Walls, number 30, matched up against Robert Woods. You wonder why he catch it with one hand? Because look, Walls grabbing the other. He's still hand fighting. But as Walls grabs the left hand, Woods stabs it with the front hand. We're seeing catches like this all over the National Football League. And these talented young group of receivers.
Wasn't quite Odell Beckham Jr.'s theatrics from last night, but what a night that Woods is putting together after that early touchdown. Orton may have gotten him offside. Little sidearm delivery deflected and nearly picked. David Harris making a lunging attempt at it.
Offside, number 98, defense. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
And that is on Copels. Here was the incredible catch that a lot of people, Salmon, are calling the greatest in the history of the NFL. What did you think?
That's the catch seen around the world. This is the catch that broke Twitter, am I right? I mean,
Just
everyone, every athlete, whether it's gymnastics, whether it's the NBA, we now know your name, Liddell Beckham Jr. And then Robert Woods comes into tonight's game, figure, you know, I got to make my presence felt as well with the one-hand grab.
So 1st and 5 after the penalty. They mark it at the 38. Play action pass, quick strike. Short pass is caught by the tight end Chris Gregg. That's his second reception of the night. 6 yards and another Buffalo first down.
Well, it's just they're just doing a good job of getting the ball out, dinking and dunking. And right now, we talk about Orton getting into great rhythm in this game.
This is the 2-minute warning.
That'll take us to the 2-minute warning. Buffalo driving. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Final 2 minutes before halftime. 8th play of the Bills drive that started at their own 10. Orton again has time. Quick strike on the screen to Jackson as he's run out of bounds by Davis after a pickup of 5. Another reminder, the Verizon halftime report coming up. You'll hear from Adam Shine and his mates on NFL Monday QB. They'll get you caught up around the NFL, plus first half analysis from Solomon on the Verizon halftime report coming up next. And Solly, once again, can't overstate the importance of this game. Buffalo, 2 straight losses, trying to keep pace in that postseason race.
Can't overstate this possession as they're knocking on the door, getting close to the red zone. But under 2 minutes to go, if you're Kyle Orton, you want to be able to stick the ball into the end zone here.
2nd and 5. Orton's going to take a shot near side. It's incomplete. Flag comes in right around the 14-yard line. Intended receiver was Gregg. Kyle Wilson, who has had all kinds of struggles as a Jet.
Number 20, defense. 5-yard penalty automatic. First down.
If you're Kyle Wilson, what you have to do, you got to cover with your feet. You can't jam the receiver, put your hands on the receiver. Go ahead and roll it. You can't put your hands on the receiver beyond 20 yards down the field. See at the bottom of the screen, he still has his hands on him and looking in the backfield. And by that point, the official's ready to throw the flag.
Well, they had such high hopes for this kid. First-round pick out of Boise State in 2010. But to this point has been a huge disappointment. That's Jackson. Picks up 7. Clock continues to run. Bills have all 3 timeouts, Sally, with 95 seconds left in the half.
Going back to the penalty on Kyle Wilson, if you're covering a tight end, you're a corner. You're supposed to be able to win the speed battle. It's no sense in having your hands on the tight end beyond 5 yards down the field. That's where your athleticism has to be able to take place, particularly when you're matched up against a slower tight end. So Wilson's just got to use better technique, but on that play, truly hurting the football team.
2nd and 3. Jackson again gets a blow. Brown alone setback. Orton evades the sack. Steps out of the pocket, takes a hit as he throws, end zone, and it is incomplete. Closest man to it was Chandler, the tight end, whom we had a chance to talk to as well yesterday. Chandler, like a lot of these Bills players, worried about the safety of his wife and 3 daughters. Said he got assurances from the Bills organization that they would be taken care of and safe. But he's been in Buffalo a long time. Said that he was just as shocked at the amount of snow as everyone else.
He broke 2 shovels trying to dig out. One belonged to his neighbor, so when he gets back to Buffalo, he's got to buy his neighbor a new snow shovel.
Huge 3rd and 3 play here. Bills trying to get into the end zone for the 2nd time tonight. One quick strike on a slant inside the 10. It's Woods. First down, Buffalo.
And so much has been said about their inefficiencies
Timeout,
down inside
Buffalo.
the red zone.
First team timeout, a 30-second timeout.
He's finding new weapons within the offense. Kyle Orton has his Buffalo Bills offense on the move.
Bills forced to burn their second timeout. And he fires end zone. He's got Chandler for the Buffalo touchdown. 19 yards and Buffalo builds on its lead.
What did Rex Ryan tell us? Down inside the red zone, we have to cover against the tight end Scott Chandler. Everyone knows that Sammy Watkins is a weapon, but so is Chandler. Look, coming right here, working toward the middle. Once he gets behind the linebacker, there's your window. For a completion, Kyle Orton has his second touchdown toss of the game.
Second touchdown reception of the season for Chandler. And Carpenter's point after extends Buffalo's lead to 14-3. 43 seconds left in a game that the Bills have to have on CBS. Chandler the touchdown, 19-yard strike for Morton. What a drive, Solomon, for the Bills. 13 plays, 90 yards in just over 5 minutes.
Oh, that's getting back to the norm. They came out and they're playing for the entire city of Buffalo. They talked about it. Scott Chandler said, hey, we got to get back to playing football. We know that the playoffs is out there for us. He said, we just got to get back to having fun playing the game. And it looks like they're getting back to that here in Detroit tonight.
And I got to say, there was a lot of talk about what kind of fan turnout with the free tickets and this game being relocated almost 300 miles to the west of Buffalo. This place is nearing capacity at this point. And a lot to cheer about for these Buffalo fans. Little muffed return by Harvin, able to recover. Crosses the 25-yard line and finally brought down at around the 26. Wednesday on CBS, Dylan McDermott and Maggie Q star in a new episode of The Thriller Stalker. Wednesday, 10/9 Central, only CBS. Football actually marked out at the 16, I beg your pardon. So once again, tough field position, Solomon, and an offense that hasn't been very impressive, to say the least, tonight.
You know, they go 3 and out 28% of the time coming into tonight's game. Second most in the NFL. Michael Vick was supposed to come in and replace Geno Smith and help this offense to be more productive.
Jets with 2 timeouts left. It completes over the middle. That's Johnson out of the backfield. Ahead of the 25, picks up 9 yards. And it looks like the Jets will burn their second timeout.
And that's another thing, just being more efficient in terms of time management. It all starts with the ability to get the plays in from the sideline into the quarterback. That's why they have a headset for the quarterback, so that that information can be communicated rather quickly, so the quarterback can get in and out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, and get the ball snapped. With a veteran quarterback like Michael Vick, we know he hasn't played a whole lot, but they were much more efficient. You go back 2 weeks ago in that stunning victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Jets 29th in the NFL in scoring, just over 17 points per game. And tonight, just 60 yards of total offense. Vick pump fakes on 2nd and 1, airs it out, not even close. And that is incomplete, intended for Decker, who they say Solly is healthy, or as close to healthy for the first time since he tweaked that hamstring. And that time, they weren't even close. It'll be 3rd and 1.
Oh, Decker didn't keep running. You know, Michael Vick expected him to keep running down the field. As Decker turned back to look for the ball, he just sort of settled into the area and didn't maintain his speed to get vertical down the field.
And Decker originally hurt that hamstring in training camp. Had to miss a game week 5 in San Diego and just hasn't been what the Jets had hoped. 3rd and 1. Vick over the middle. They've got the first down. That's Curley. The 4th-year target picks up 8. And the Jets will take their final timeout. 20 seconds remaining. So much still left to be decided for this Jets organization. As Rex Ryan and company trying to evaluate what they have. Of course, who the quarterback is long term. And Jets want to see how Vick handles this situation with 20 seconds left in a very tough set of circumstances here.
And one might say that maybe the bye did not come at a good time for the New York Jets after that stunning win over Pittsburgh. The Steelers have been red hot. And Michael Vick and the New York Jets came and played lights out Probably, maybe they should have kept playing another week so that they can continue to gain some consistency.
Jets want to stay along the sidelines here. No timeouts. Vick somehow able to escape. Tucks it away. Still hasn't crossed the line of scrimmage and just runs out of bounds. Just past the 30-yard line. He'll lose about a half yard. Roby forced him out.
You can still see he has the quickness and mobility to save himself, to extend plays. Now he's got to become more in sync. As you look at the target line for Nick Folk, they're a long way from that 38-yard line. So right now it's either a Hail Mary, throw the ball down the field, try to take it over the center of the field. Still have one timeout left.
Folk hit a 27-yard chip shot early. Only scoring for the Jets so far. Out of timeouts. 12 seconds left. They're down 14-3. Vick on 2nd and 12. Pump fake's going to take a shot. Far side. He's got Decker, and he missed him. And that perfectly summarized the season it has been for Rex Ryan and the Jets.
He had him open. Clear. Missed shot, missed opportunity. Take a look. He's open now. Just lay it up and allow him to run under it. That almost went through the hands of Eric Decker. That looked like he should have caught that one. And did it stretch him out? Absolutely. But we saw a great catch last night. We saw how receivers can make a play for their quarterback. I think Decker's got to come down with that. Did he overthrow him? Absolutely. But that ball looked like it went off the hands of Eric Decker.
Would have been a 69-yard touchdown, assuming Decker could keep his feet.
5-yard penalty.
And the second delay of game penalty against this offense tonight.
Prior to the flag being thrown for the play clock, Buffalo calls a timeout. Timeout Buffalo. Third and final team timeout. A 30-second timeout.
So Buffalo credited with their timeout. And that look from Rex Ryan says it all. And you wonder, Sally, if that hamstring plays any kind of factor. Just
well, take a look at this.
Just dropped it.
You tell me. The other hit right there. See, he pulls the hands in, but it looked like that went off, right through the hands. That's through the basket. He knows he should have had it. And yeah, you'd like to see it maybe drop in a little closer to the receiver. But I've seen Eric Decker make those catches.
False start, number 68. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
That's on Giacomini again. So 6 seconds left. And Rex already thinking about that halftime meeting in that Jet locker room.
You know, we talk about the X's and O's coming alive. That, you know, coaches will tell you that the scheme and the X's and O's, they don't move on that board. That players have to make plays come alive. They have to be able to go out and make plays outside of the design. And that throw, that catch, I think is a good example of it.
Jets are running out with Johnson. Gets to the 40. That's a lot of talk about in that Jet locker room at halftime. 14-3 Buffalo. Couple of touchdown throws by Orton. One to his second-year receiver, Robert Woods. And another to his tight end, Scott Chandler. As we go downstairs, Steve Tasker standing by with Doug Marrone.
Coach, talk to me a little bit about how you thought your team played given the rough circumstances of the game.
Well, I think we came out pretty strong. I think there's a couple of things, penalties, we got to stop that. But defensively, we're playing well. Obviously in the red zone, we're scoring touchdowns. So, we've got to keep it up. Field position-wise, we got to start winning that battle. We haven't done a very good job there.
Any adjustments at all in the second half offensively or defensively?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to go up there now. We've been making adjustments during the game, so we just try to stay one step ahead.
All right, Coach, thanks for taking a minute.
Great. Thank you, Steve.
Spiro?
All right, Steve, so Buffalo with Doug Marrone trying to stay alive in that AFC postseason chase. Up in front here in Detroit, 14-3. Back with the Verizon halftime report after this. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Just about ready for the start of the third quarter. 14-3 here at Ford Field in downtown Detroit. Spiro Dita, Solomon Wilcots welcoming you back to the NFL on CBS. I tell you what, we all wondered how Buffalo would come out after the week that they've just had. They have looked like a team that was cooped up in their homes for a couple of weeks, and they just flew out of the gates.
You ever have cabin fever when you were a kid after being snowed in? Couldn't wait to get out and play. That's what the Buffalo Bills have done tonight. They've gotten after it both sides of the ball, on offense and on defense.
Sal, you take a look at what we've seen in that first half. They stormed down the field, game-opening drive, touchdown to Woods, and they look very good building on that.
Well, Kyle Orton has come out ready to play, throwing the ball, getting the ball into the end zone, and really being productive down inside the red zone. And then the defense, they're getting into the act, nearly coming away with interceptions. Hit, hurry, and harassed Michael Vick in the first half of this game. 2 sacks for Mario Williams, 3 on the night. We know this defense can come away with sacks. Can Kyle Orton continue to put points on the board for the Buffalo Bills offense? And that means this team is indeed back. They're having fun playing football tonight.
And look at what Buffalo's defense has done to Mike Vick and the Jets. That end of the football, just 25 pass yards. Vick, Sally, just does not look comfortable at any point tonight. So whatever momentum the Jets had built in that win Week 10 against the Steelers has evaporated. Vick so far just 6 of 15 if you've just joined us, 42 yards and the 25 net yards passing. Bryce Brown takes a knee in the end zone for Buffalo. As we check in once again with the third member of our team down on the field, Steve Tasker.
Well, Spiro, I spoke to Rex Ryan after halftime, and he was really disappointed in the way his guys competed. He called them out at halftime and told them they need to step up the tempo. Disappointed that they're putting 2 guys on Mario Williams. He still splits the double team to get a sack. And also, I asked him if they were doing anything differently. He said, yeah, they're moving Sammy Watkins around a little bit more than they did in the first meeting. But other than that, this is the same Bills team they faced a couple of weeks ago and lost 20 points by.
All right, Steve, another update from that Jets sideline. Muhammad Wilkerson was at an MVP-type season, has a toe injury. His return is questionable as they continue to work on him down in the field. That's Fred Jackson making his return. Solly out 2 of the last 3 games with the groin injury, and they've had a little bit more balance with the run game so far tonight.
Yeah, they nearly 50 yards rushing in the first half, but, you know, Steve Tasker gave us some good information in terms of Rex Ryan. They expected this Bills offense to go more to Sammy Watkins. It's been Robert Woods on the other side of the coverage, drawing single coverage. He's been making plays for the Bills offense.
Here's Woods, 6 catches in the first half, 64 yards in the early touchdown. 2nd and 8 from the 22. Barton throws it far side, incomplete through the hands of the rookie Watkins. 3rd among all NFL rookie receivers in receptions at 46.
Robert Woods has been making catches. Sammy Watkins got to make some catches. You can see that one right off his hands, but even against double coverage, Orton's still going to give him opportunities to make plays. The one catch he does have in the game, he caught it against double coverage.
Watkins trying to work his way back to full strength. He touched on the groin injury that he sustained back in Week 7. Hasn't looked like himself the last couple of games.
Hey, we got 3 bigs over here.
3rd and 8. Play clock down to 2. They mark it at the 22. Jets coming with the blitz. Orton, not the most mobile guy, able to tuck it away past the 30 and has the Buffalo first down. How about that play from the old 31-year-old quarterback?
We talked to Muhammad Wilkerson. He told us that Kyle Orton isn't the most mobile quarterback. Don't expect him to get out of the pocket. And watch 97. Calvin Pace is giving chase. And on that green grass, Kyle Orton said, well, I got to go for it. I almost have to run for it. Big man in pursuit, chasing down the little rabbit. He's able to catch him, but not until he picks up the first down.
10-yard, I guess, jog we can call it, from Martin, able to move the chains.
Very appropriate.
Longest rush of the season for the Bills quarterback, who tonight makes his 7th start for Doug Marrone. Little screen pass. Jackson makes the first down miss, crosses the 30. And ahead to the 34-yard line, tackled by T.J. Barnes. Jackson, the oldest running back, Solomon, in the NFL, knows this rivalry as well as any other Bill. And so tonight, slowly but surely working his way back to full health.
Yeah, he's the Bills' version of a Swiss Army knife. He can do everything. He can run it. He can catch it. Excellent pass protector for the quarterback. And what a great team leader inside the locker room. No better teammate than a Fred Jackson.
Jackson, one of Just 5 undrafted players in NFL history that's run for more than 5,000 yards. Second and 8 pass. Orton connects again to Watkins at the 40. Well, Jackson was one of the Bills who had cabin fever earlier this week, but used it as some family time with his young children in front of his home.
Look at Bobby.
Can't do this many places around the country.
Now, that's fun. I could do you like that, Spiro. I could launch you. You know.
You can pick me up. You still do look strong. I give you that. The second, I'll make it 3rd and 2 as they mark it at the 40-yard line.
Yeah.
Jackson takes a rest, and Anthony Dixon is the long setback. Orton from the gun is going to throw it far side. It is caught. Woods again as he continues to victimize this Jet secondary. Woods picks up 9 and another Buffalo first down.
7 catches on the night for Robert Woods. No other receiver for the Bills tonight has 4 catches. So he clearly has been the go-to guy, with Watkins being less than 100%. And even the Jets coverage, I think they've got to make some adjustments. They've got to be able to, I think, roll coverage towards Robert Woods, take him away from Kyle Orton, and trust that you can go one-on-one against Watkins.
7th play of the drive. Watkins again. Quick strike finds Orton, stays in bound, and Juke steps his way to the 40. As now these 2 young wide receivers making their impact here. Forced out of bounds, 12-yard pass play, tackled by Landry. So another first down. This Jet defense continues to play on its heels. Coming up Thursday on CBS, a new discovery that could expose the madness behind Sherlock Holmes' methods. Don't miss a surprising new Elementary, Thursday, 10/9 Central, only CBS. Orton and company driving up 14-3. Here's Dixon, that wide load. Ducks his way inside the 35, picks up 5 yards on first down.
I think Orton's got to do more of this. Check to the run game, allow Dixon, Fred Jackson to get it going. If you're going to double cover Sammy Watkins, means you can't put 8 defenders in the box for Rex Ryan's defense. And why would you double cover Watkins? Well, the last time they played, 3 catches, 157 yards and a touchdown. He had 2 catches for 60 yards or more in that game, Spiro.
It was 2nd and 5. That time the Jet defensive front holding. Copels on the tackle for the Jets. We mentioned the injured Wilkerson a couple of minutes ago. Let's get more now from Steve Tasker.
Yeah, just a moment ago, Muhammad Wilkerson made his way out of the Jet locker room. He was last to come out. He was late. The drive for the Buffalo Bills had already started. He stayed in, and now a telltale sign. And Solomon, you can speak to this. He's standing on the sidelines, hands on his hips. He has no helmet. He's not even holding it.
Yeah, that usually means you're unavailable. As Steve Tasker would know, when a defensive player and the defense is on the field, your group is out there, you don't even have a helmet. That means you're better off standing next to the coaches and trying to cheer guys on.
Play clock down to 1. Orton barely gets it off. 3rd and 7. That pass is incomplete off the hands of Hogan. And Doug Marrone will send out his punt team.
You know, Hogan given an opportunity, Doug Marrone allowing him to make a play on 3rd down. He hauls this one in. All he has to do is fall forward. And look at the look Kyle Orton is giving his receivers.
And now the field goal unit is going to come on. Looks like Schmidt was out onto the field for a moment. Marrone changes his mind. They're going to try a 53-yard kick with Carpenter. Career-long 58 to try to build on an 11-point Buffalo lead. Hold is down. Carpenter on target, and it is perfect. So Buffalo's drive stalls, but Carpenter bangs it in from 53. All Bills on CBS. 53-yard field goal by Carpenter. As Buffalo trying to keep pace in that AFC East. Right now 5-5, 2 straight losses. And everything that they have had to contend with over the last week. And all things considered, this has been awfully impressive so far from Doug Marrone's Bills. Harvin's going to play it from the back of his own end zone. Stumbles ahead of the 15. Didn't look like he was touched. As they finally get to him just out past that 15-yard line. Can Vic and this offense get anything going? Down 17-3.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. See Ellis. And by Kelly Blue Book. Find out what you should pay for your next new car at kbb.com.
A lot of smiling faces amongst the Bills contingent of fans here. Announced attendance better than 56,000. And a lot of those folks have made the trek here from Western New York. 1st and 10, Vick still going backwards. Kyle Williams gets to him. 4th sack from that Buffalo defense.
You get down by 14 points. Everyone knows you got to throw the ball. Jim Schwartz knows it. And take a look at number 95. Kyle Williams, a man unleashed. He's just pouring right in, right up the gut. Nowhere for Michael Vick to go. And Mario Williams was coming off the backside corner.
33rd career sack for Williams, most ever by a defensive tackle in franchise history. 2nd and 18 from the 7. Keep it on the ground. This is Chris Ivory, who's had a quiet night with the Jets. Solomon playing from behind him. You wondered and really thought that with this game being relocated indoors on a fast track like it is here in Detroit, that it would help this Jet offense with some of the speed players that they've had, but hasn't been the case.
Yeah, we thought we'd see more Percy Harvin getting the ball in his hands and maybe some of the bubble screens. Quick passing, getting the ball out of the hands of Michael Vick into the hands of his receivers. You can see they struggled tonight on 3rd down. They've struggled all season long on the money down.
3rd and 15, Johnson alone setback alongside Vick. Bills coming, Vick flushed out, surveys the field, completes it at the 23-yard line. That is Harvin. Preston Brown on the tackle. And now the officials say incomplete. Harvin did not make the catch. And the Jets, once again, Solomon will punt.
Well, you could see ball right there. If you're Percy Harvin, got to make that catch. Got to make a play for your quarterback. Even if he catches it, he's still short of the 1st down mark.
There's Jackson standing just out past his 40. Harvin so far, his 4th game as a Jet tonight, has been a non-factor, just 1 reception for 2 yards. And this the 5th punt from Quigley. They blocked it into the end zone. Buffalo getting to it with Manny Lawson for a Buffalo touchdown. It was Anthony Dixon who blocked it. And the misery continues for Rex Ryan and the Jets.
Boobie Dixon was the only Bills defender who rushed on the play. He's going to come from out here. Look, right there. He's the only guy rushing, really. He gets in and is able to block it. Everyone else is really blocking for the return. They're holding guys up. He comes off the corner and is able to get the block. An incredible play.
First punt blocked by the Bills since December 19th of 2004. And it comes at the expense of their division rivals, the Jets. Carpenter's point after is good. 24-3, Buffalo in front. Everyone getting in on the act for the Bills. Dixon the block, Lawson the touchdown. Buffalo celebrates on CBS. Rough night for Jets punter Ryan Quigley. Had the early shank, and that one a moment ago blocked. Anthony Dixon, you see the first blocked punt in 10 years for the Buffalo Bills. Manny Lawson falling on the football for the touchdown. So 10 points for Buffalo over the last minute 48. Harvin again trying to make something happen, and he is stuck at the 6. Excellent coverage. Ron Brooks with an NFL hit to put Harvin to the turf. Sunday, you can wind up your holiday in style with an NFL on CBS doubleheader. First, the Chargers take on the Ravens, and then the big one from Lambeau, Patriots, Packers. What a matchup between Brady and Rodgers. It all begins with JB, Tony Bart, Coach, and Boomer on the NFL Today. Here's what the postseason picture looks like. Buffalo towards the bottom right of your screen, 5-5 solid. Absolutely in a must-win tonight, and so far blowing the Jets out.
Yeah, in Baltimore right now, 7-0 over the New Orleans Saints in the other Monday night game.
Hey, bring it back, Mike 5-1.
The game being played in New Orleans. 1st and 10. Here's Chris Johnson. Crosses the 11, lunges ahead to the 12, tackled there by Jerry Hughes. What about the postseason picture in the NFC? The big one last night, Dallas to win against the Giants at MetLife Stadium. And that NFC South, Sally, it is up for grabs. Any of these teams can win it.
How about the NFC West? Seattle just beat Arizona. They have an upcoming game against the San Francisco 49ers. So still plenty of football left in the month of November. As we head into the month of December, it'll become more clear.
Tampa just 2 wins. Still alive in that NFC South. 2nd and 5. Again trying to locate Decker. This time he makes the catch. But Decker missing on that 69-yard pass earlier that may or may not have been overthrown. That time he picks up 34.
Well, Vic and Decker tried to hook up in the second quarter on that last possession, but this one dropped right in the bucket by Michael Vick. And Decker able to haul it in over Stephon Gilmore. Little nudge, okay, in the arm bar, but he's able to haul it in, keep both feet in bounds.
Bills are asking for an instant replay review, and it looks like they will get it. Call on the field as Marrone throws out his challenge flag. A completed pass of 34 yards. Here's Pete Morelli.
Buffalo is challenging the ruling on the field that the receiver did not have 2 feet down in bounds. Timeout.
We'll take another look here and in New York. Did Decker get 2 feet in? Stay with us.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Taco Bell. The new way to Taco Bell is here, only in the app. And by Miller Lite. Back in its original look, it's Miller time.
As we return to Ford Field, we'll hear from the official. I think it's going to be
After
uphill.
reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands, a catch. Buffalo will be charged, a timeout and a challenge.
Now, you know what? It was a bang-bang play. Good call by the official real-time, Spiro. We're going to slow it down, but watch the right foot. Right foot is down with the ball in the hands of Eric Decker. Then left foot down, still got control of the football. That's why it constitutes as a catch. 2 feet in, control and catch of the football, but the official got that in real time without the advantage of slowing it down.
So Decker, 34-yard connection with Vick, and those two have struggled tonight. I mentioned the miscue on the 69-yard attempt earlier. 1st and 10. Vick dances out of the pocket, wrapped up around the ankles, somehow able to get the football away.
Intentional grounding, the quarterback's out of the pocket.
And so he was out of the tackle box. Hughes, who has had some kind of a season, Sally, all the talk about Darius and Williams, both Kyle and Mario, this kid has been unbelievable for Marrone.
Their entire front four. And you're right, he's come on. He talked about his days in Indianapolis with the Colts, a former first-round pick of the Colts, and was highly unproductive there. He said, but he carried some things with him here to Buffalo, having learned from Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, 2 Pro Bowlers, and boy, has his career taken off in Buffalo.
2nd and 10. Hughes coming again, and he buries Vick. The Jet quarterback never had a chance. 5th time they've gotten to him tonight.
He's working against the left tackle, D'Brickashaw Ferguson, one of the better left tackles in the game. Michael Vick is hobbled a bit, but as Vick tried to climb the pocket and escape underneath, Hughes did a really good job of working his way, up the field, and watch him close the door. He sees that avenue of escape for Vick, and so he climbs back underneath D'Brickashaw Ferguson and still comes away with the sack.
Vick has taken a pounding, as you can see, over the last 4 games. 3rd and 15, he's intercepted! Picked off! Duke Williams inside the 20, and Vick makes a touchdown-saving tackle as the 2nd-year safety returns it 35 yards, and Vick in a world of pain.
In more ways than one. It's got to be very tough when the pass rush is just coming on you relentlessly, and then, see, take a look. He's going to go over here. He doesn't see the defensive back stepping right in the passing lane, right there. Williams is able to rob it as he was trying to go with a 3-step drop to Eric Decker, and Williams pretended as if he was going to blitz on the play, but then he dropped back in coverage. Vick never saw him on the play.
First career pick for the safety Williams. 1st and 10. Keep it on the ground inside the 15, close to the 10. As once again, Buffalo with a short field. Fred Jackson able to inch close to the 10, and they continue to look at Vic on that Jet sideline.
Now we say pressure leads to picks, Spiro, on defense. If you get this much pressure on any quarterback, they're going to be hurried and rushed, even when there's no threat of being sacked. And that's what you had there. He was in a rush to get rid of the ball quickly, and the defense fed on it.
Jets defense a little bit out of sorts, forced to burn a
12 men on the
timeout. We saw
field.
Geno Smith.
With the snap imminent, defense, 5-yard penalty, and the result of the penalty is a first down.
And the issues continue for the Jets. Man penalized was the defensive tackle, Kenrick Ellis. Automatic first down for Buffalo.
I talked to Michael Vick about this very same thing last night. Remember, the Bills in those last two games, they lost both of them, but they had a combined total of 11 sacks against the likes of Alex Smith last week, or again in the Thursday night game against Ryan Tannehill. But still, those teams were able to come away a winner because the quarterbacks hung in there and made play.
First down goal to go. Jackson, little juke cutback, and he's into the end zone.
Oh, there you go. We said they needed to run the ball down inside the red zone. Fred Jackson cashes in. It's only the 4th rushing touchdown for the Bills all season long. It really had hurt them. They came in with only 3 rushing touchdowns, by far the fewest in the National Football League. But the ability to drive it in, running the football down inside the red zone, go a long way into helping your quarterback. And now we see Geno Smith putting a helmet on. Can he regain his confidence to help the New York Jets?
This game was 14-3 at halftime. Buffalo with 17 points in under 5 minutes. Second rushing touchdown of the season for Jackson. Carpenter's point after. All set up by the pick from Duke Williams. First career interception. Buffalo pouring it on in Detroit. Well, this one has gotten away from the Jets in an awful hurry. Nightmare third quarter, 31-3. There's your score. Other game going on right now. Monday Night Football in New Orleans. Jimmy Graham has just scored a touchdown for the Saints as New Orleans has tied Baltimore at 7. Huge game for both of those teams. I showed you the postseason picture in both the AFC and NFC just a couple of minutes ago. Here's Harvin again. He's had little to no impact in this game till this point, as he is brought down at the 15-yard line. Coming up week 13, it'll kick off on Thanksgiving Day with a triple header around the National Football League. First on CBS, Chicago, Detroit, right here at Ford Field, and then Philly, Dallas. First of 2 meetings between those two teams, solid 18 days as they try to decide that NFC East. And here is Geno Smith, who has not played since the benching the dismal first quarter against these Bills in Week 8.
Well, he's got to do a better job of not turning the football over. And Michael Vick committed the Cardinals sin of throwing the interception, setting the Bills up to score even more points. But he said it. He had to protect the football, and now the same holds true for Geno Smith.
Nothing official yet from the Jets on Vick's injury. With a play action draw play, they do give it to Ivory. Keep it on the ground. What a run. Nifty run by Ivory, and then a huge collision right at the 30-yard line. Hard fought run by Ivory, 17 yards. He was met by Aaron Williams and Searcy. What a collision.
Oh, yeah, take a look at it. He's going to come here and then bounce it back. And once he's coming downhill, you better look out. Better bring an extra chin strap and mouthpiece for that collision.
That was a video game maneuver from Ivory. He stuck his foot in the turf and cut back, fooled the entire Bills defense. First and 10, here's Ivory again. So physical at 6 feet, 222. So Solomon here, a look at Geno Smith, that just disastrous performance, 24 career starts. They really gave him every opportunity to succeed, and just had a nightmare season.
And it really just starts with knowing where to go with the football. Based on what the defense gives you. You know, I played on defense in the NFL. You can't take away every single thing from the offense. And now he's got to be able to read the defense and find the weak areas and still get the ball out of his hands safely.
Smith, the second-year starter under center. And a short pass, Ivory again. Trying to make play and miss, and what a play by the third-year Buffalo linebacker. That time able to drag Ivory down, and he's letting the little youngster know about it. Dumps him for a loss of 4.
I don't know that we talk enough about Nigel Bradham, his ability to look at this play. He grabs his hair. Now remember, his hair is part of the uniform. And that's an aggressive tackle. And I think these linebackers, whether it's Preston Brown, Nigel Bradham, without their star in the middle, Kiko Alonso, remember he was lost during training camp. These two guys have filled in, played around Brandon Spikes, and I think they played at a tremendously high level.
Boy, if they hit on a couple of young stud linebackers last couple of years, Alonzo, and this year Preston Brown, as Sally points out, 3rd and 13. Smith under pressure, buys himself some extra seconds, and a hard collision. Gilmore against Curley right after the catch. Amazingly, that Curley even held on to the football. It will count as a 6-yard reception.
Our Steve Tasker asked before the game in his sideline report, saying that we really didn't know how the Bills were going to come out and play. I think they've answered us. We've seen them on offense. We've seen them lay some licks and play very aggressive on the defensive side of the ball. The front end and the back end of the defense really coordinated. And right now we have extracurricular activities taking place on the field.
There are 2 different fans that have run onto the field. They are tackled by security here at Ford Field.
See, those guys don't know Chuck Bednarik. If you go back to Chuck Bednarik in Philadelphia, he would clean clocks if you ran out on the field.
Yeah, you didn't worry about spending the night in jail when Bednarik is on the field. But he is escorted off the field. There's one fan, and then the other on the other side of the stadium. Loudest cheer from these fans tonight. Announced attendance better than 54,000 as Vic injured, if you've just joined us, helplessly watching now from that Jet sideline.
Now the Bills have come out ready to play. We talked about having had a case of cabin fever. Many of the players told us about it. They said they were eager to play, and boy, have they shown us.
Quigley's punt. Jackson is going to signal fair catch, and this one will take a jet bounce out of bounds just inside the 20. Well, this was a 14-3 lead for the Bills. Sally at halftime, all Buffalo in this third quarter.
Ruby Dixon getting the party started in the third quarter with a block punt, and Manny Lawson recovering it for a touchdown. Duke Williams reading the eyes of Michael Vick, getting the pick, setting the table for Fred Jackson to run it in, power it in with a run game down inside the red zone. This football team has answered all the questions. They've improved their red zone offense. Kyle Orton playing much better. The defense is per usual in terms of their ability to pressure the opposing quarterback. And so the special teams has gotten involved in offense, and defense has been dominant.
17 points scored by the Bills in under 5 minutes. It's not that one juncture of the third quarter. Here's Bryce Brown trying to cut back to the far side. What a week for Buffalo. Weren't able to fly in here until Friday. We heard the stories about players having to be rescued from their homes via snowmobile just to be taken to the facility for that morning flight on Friday. And they all wondered how they would come out, Doug Marrone included, but what a performance. Granted, against a Jet team that's only 2-8.
You know, Doug Marrone, remember he had been with the New Orleans Saints. He said he had some experience with crisis management.
That's right.
In his many stops along the way.
On the far side, that is incomplete. And it looks like Bragg is hurt, clutching on that leg. He was on that George O'Leary staff, as you mentioned, at Georgia Tech. He was the director of football operations, and his duty, as he told us, was to do everything that the coach didn't want to deal with.
And we talked about, because, head coaches in the National Football League are having to deal with anomalies. He talked about when he was the offense coordinator with the New Orleans Saints and the post-Katrina hurricane that had come through. They were displaced and had to move their operations to Indianapolis. And he said he had experienced that, and he drew from all of those experiences this week in order to prepare his football team.
Haven't been affected on the field so far. 3rd and 8, complete to Chandler. Needed to get to the 27 for the first down. Kyle Orton a little bit slow to get to his feet. As that clock continues to run, we come up on the final minute of this third quarter as Buffalo will punt.
Oh, their defense has been dominant. if you're Kyle Lorton, I think you've got to continue as they head into the final week of the month and then into the month of December. As they're really trying to make a run for the playoffs, he's got to figure out a way to continue to play at a high level in terms of developing better chemistry with the wide receivers. If they can improve on third down and down inside the red zone, this team can win a lot of football games.
Bills will fly home tonight. That home game looking better by the day next week as Harbin, Macon Curley, is dumped right after he received that punt. 58-yard punt. They dump him for a loss of 4. Marcus Beasley with another great special teams tackle. Coming up tomorrow on CBS, what will it take to stop a war before it happens? Don't miss an all-new episode of Person of Interest tomorrow at 10/9 Central, only CBS. Jets again will get on the plane tonight, Sally. They'll fly home. No official word yet on the NFL. We did hear from the commissioner, Roger Goodell, earlier, talking with Steve Tasker. Their plan is to play that home game in Buffalo next Sunday against Cleveland. Another big game, as all reports are that the snow has really been shoveled out quickly the last couple of days. The stadium in very good shape.
I thought the commissioner of the league has handled this very well, allowing Buffalo time to get ready. Moving the game back, allow them to get at least enough time to prepare themselves for tonight's game.
Geno Smith on in relief of Vick, who left due to injury a couple of minutes ago. That complete over the middle to Decker. Clock continues to run. 20 seconds, 16-yard first down hookup. Smith to Decker.
That was a good play from Geno Smith. He climbed the pocket. He didn't drift backwards, climbed the pocket, still had vision down the field, was able to hit Decker as he came open on the play.
So Buffalo takes a 14-3 halftime lead. They build on that with the 17-point burst, up 31-3 on CBS. Bills able to blow this game open. 17 points in that third quarter. 31-3 here in Detroit. And what has been a surreal chapter for this Buffalo franchise. Mike Vick off the field, injured just a couple of minutes ago. So Geno Smith on in relief. 3 for 3 so far. He's the second-year quarterback on 1st and 10. He's going to run it. Slides ahead to the 39-yard line. Sally, what do you want to see from Smith in this set of circumstances?
I just want to see him manage the football team, move the team up to the line of scrimmage quickly, get the ball out of his hand, make good decisions with the football, and be able to sustain drives, make plays on third down without committing errors. And that's what you have to do to be a quarterback in the National Football League.
This should be 2nd and 7. They mark it just inside the 39. Smith under pressure. Somehow he loses the sack and is going to get the pass away, and he completes it. Geno Smith with quite the magic trick. Somehow gets it to Cumberland. Unbelievable. They pick up 6.
He must have a rabbit's foot in his pocket. Stephon Charles coming in, providing the pressure. And nearly has Geno. He's held up by one of his offensive linemen as he's tripped and falling down, just throws the ball up, and Cumberland comes down with it. I'm not so sure if he was intending to complete it to Cumberland, but he sure did.
3rd and short. Smith trying to lunge for the first down. Needed to get right to the 45-yard line. Bills defenders saying he doesn't have it. And they're saying they have the football. Manny Lawson, who recovered the blocked punt for a touchdown earlier in the third quarter. No official signal from our referee, Pete Morelli. So Jets maintain possession, but they appear to be short by inches. No signal yet. Looks like they will go for it here on 4th and about 6 inches.
Well, may as well. Remember, this team can run the football very well. And remember, Geno is also a very mobile quarterback. From the looks of this formation, you could get some version of the read option.
Curley again takes the direct snap with a pitch play to Johnson, and he has the first down. Gets ahead to the 48-yard line, picks up 3. That's the second time that Curley has taken a direct snap tonight. Johnson moves the chains.
Old pistol formation, the Wildcat, okay? As they snap it to Curley, and he's able to pitch it to Johnson, picking up a first down. Very creative play.
2 line! Mike 5-1, line 5-2.
Johnson alone setback. This is 1st and 10. They mark it at the 47. Smith from the gun over the middle, completes to Decker. Tackled inside Buffalo territory at the 48. So many decisions, Solly, that this Jets organization will have to make. Who their GM is next year. John Idzik has been much maligned as their second-year general manager. And a lot of talk about Rex Ryan's future and, of course, who is their long-term quarterback moving forward.
Yeah, that's going to be an entire reclamation project in terms of making some critical decisions of how to move forward with the New York Jets.
2nd and 5. Draw play to Johnson. So you talk to the Jet players, and to a man, they are in full support of Rex Ryan, who coached this team to an 8-8 record last year. Really overachieved considering what he had to deal with. They've underachieved this year. One thing we do know, if they go in a different direction, Rex Ryan's going to get a job elsewhere at the drop of a hat.
He's a really good football coach. There's no doubt. I think there are a lot of teams who would be interested in having a Rex Ryan lead their football team, but they do need a concerted effort between the head coach and the general manager with the New York Jets and be able to build from the ground up, and you have to be successful in the draft.
Jets have not been effective on 3rd down, to say the least. Smith on 3rd and 4. Another sack. Number 6 for this Buffalo defense. Ty Powell, the second-year backup linebacker. Free agent acquisition, putting a smile on the face of Jim Schwartz.
He comes late because it's what we call a green dog blitz. And so he just kind of buys his time. Ty Powell, once he sees the running back blocking, he's just going to come in and come away with the sack.
First appearance for Geno Smith since that Week 8 debacle, the 3 interceptions in the first quarter against Buffalo in East Rutherford. And so far, a lot of the same from this Jet offense. Another punt from Quigley. It's been a busy night for him. Fair catch, signaled by Jackson. 43-yard punt. Orton's going to stay in the game. All Buffalo. You're watching the NFL on CBS. All Buffalo, if you've just joined us, 31-3. Vic giving way for Geno Smith. Left the game with what looked like an assortment of injuries late in that 3rd quarter. 1st and 10. Orton is going to take a rip near side and puts it right in Woods' breadbasket. Majestic pass by Orton, as Woods able to beat the corner Darren Walls for 37.
Oh, he's going to get behind him, and Walls is right there with him. But one guy finds the ball. See, Walls never finds the football, and that's how Woods is able to haul it in. If you're going to play corner out on the island, if you're Walls, you got to get the head around, find the football, believe in your positioning, and then find a way to get a hand on the ball.
Career night for the second-year receiver out of USC, the 2nd-round pick. Back in 2013, Robert Woods, 110 yards and that touchdown. Dixon with a minimal pickup. As the clock continues to run, 9:15 to play. So, in some ways it's tough to evaluate, whether Buffalo has taken this much of a step forward, granted with all the issues that the Jets have had, but you wondered how this offense would look once the running game started to come back, and boy, have they looked impressive tonight.
It really was just about them getting back on track and doing what they can do, not really worrying about the opponent, but trying to get their feel and rhythm back.
That's Woods again. That'll be his 9th reception of the night as his career game continues. 8 yards from Orton, and they are yucking it up on that Buffalo side of the field. Another Bills first down.
And if you're the Bills and you're one of their fans, you want to see that. You want to see a smile back on Kyle Orton's face and the plays being called by their coach, Doug Marrone, who, yes, he does call plays. They do have an offense coordinator in Nathaniel Hackett, but they've been really good today.
Hackett coming over with Marrone from Syracuse. Long history between those two. 1st and 10. Here's Anthony Dixon. Had the block punt earlier, gets close to the 40. A pickup of 4. Marrone, who we had a chance to visit with yesterday, Solly, like a lot of the other Bills coaches, lives close to downtown Buffalo, which was not as hard as hit as some of the other outlying areas. They were finally able to get to the facility on Tuesday night due to a little break in the storm, and they basically slept there and didn't leave the rest of the week.
Yeah, Marrone actually was able to go out. He was in his truck. He said he was in front of a hospital, and as people were walking, because they had lost power, they were trying to get to the hospital, he allowed citizens to warm themselves sitting in his car. He would even drive some and help some reach their destination. So he's pitching in the efforts to help others.
2nd and 6. This is Bryce Brown inside the 35. Falls forward to the 34. Another first down for Buffalo as they pick up 6. That was Mercy Hospital, about 4 or 5 miles away from their team facility. As they move the chains yet again. And Rex Ryan continues to struggle on the other side of the field.
And so have his quarterbacks. Got to give the Bills defense a lot of credit for those struggles.
1st and 10. Here's Brown again. Brown, the 30-year running back out of Kansas State. Tackle made by Copels. As Buffalo again, they're playing tonight to fly home. Big one coming up, Solomon, next week. We assume that game will be played in Buffalo against Cleveland, who had that enormous come-from-behind win yesterday.
Oh, I think the Buffalo Bills have proven to be resilient. I think, their mental toughness, their ability to focus, I think has proven to serve them well this week, because there were certainly a lot of distractions. They could have come in with a lot of excuses. Remember, these players and coaches have left their families back in Buffalo, and in some cases, they felt like they would be safe, but still the focus under these circumstances, it's impressive.
2nd and 6. Dixon breaks it away, and he is into the end zone. 30 yards as the floodgates continue to be open here in Detroit.
Boobie Dixon, he's made his presence felt on this football team in the locker room. He's got a personality that's very infectious. The coaches and players absolutely love him. Now take a look here. There's the hole right there, and he's going to find it eventually. The big guy rumbles 30 yards for a touchdown. Already had a punt block, which was recovered for a touchdown. So he's made some plays tonight.
Dixon with the injury to Spiller. He was Buffalo's 2nd leading rusher behind Fred Jackson, and what a night he has had as Carpenter puts it in on the point after. 30-yard burst from Dixon. Buffalo big on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon XLTE on America's largest, most reliable 4G LTE network. Game of War. Play free now. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
As that snow continues to melt in Buffalo, they are under a flood watch at this hour. We remind you that the people affected by the severe weather and other disasters need your help right now. To support those impacted, like the winter storm in Buffalo and countless other crises, you can text Red Cross 90999. You can donate $10 to the American Red Cross disaster relief efforts. CBS cares. Percy Harvin was taking it out every other kick tonight. This time we'll take a knee. And here's the booze. 38-3 Buffalo on CBS. 5 touchdowns tonight for Buffalo, scored by 5 different players. They've scored 31 straight. And right now, blowing the Jets out 38-3 with under 6 left here in Detroit. Geno Smith on in relief of Michael Vick, who left the game, if you've just joined us, late in that 3rd quarter. Tackle made by Larry Dean after the catch by Ivory.
And we go back to that Week 8 game when the Bills scored 43 points in that game. And tonight they've scored 38. They tend to get well in the hole when playing the Jets.
And Smith on 2nd and 4 is going to swing it far side of the field, and it is incomplete, intended for Percy Harvin. So we want to extend our congratulations to Luke Tasker, the star wide receiver for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Steve's son, of course, as Hamilton is headed to the Grey Cup in the CFL, the Canadian Football League. And Steve, no doubt, very, very proud of his son, who has become quite the player up there in Canada.
Chip off the old block, right? You know what they say? branch doesn't fall too far from the tree, making plays just like his dad did.
3rd and 4. Here's Smith over the middle, tough throw. What a catch by Curley coming across the field. Curley makes the catch, forced out of bounds at the 40, 15 yards and a Jet first down. Nice throw, solid by Smith.
Well, it's nice to see him making plays. And you have to be able to rebuild your game first by just doing the small things right. Hopefully the confidence comes back, the rhythm comes back, and then you can get in sync with the players around you.
With the late draw play, this is Ivory on 1st and 10. Ivory breaks a couple of tackles, just doesn't want to go down. Still going. And finally they get to Ivory, bring him down after a pickup of 2. He may have covered about 45 yards on that run. It'll be 2nd and 8. Ivory has been among the few bright spots for this Jet offense that has really struggled, to say the least, this season. 29th in the NFL in scoring. Ivory, their starter, after that offseason acquisition of former NFL rushing champ Chris Johnson. 2nd and 8. Smith's pass too high over the hands of the tight end Cumberland. It'll be 3rd down coming up.
Oh, Geno had an opportunity to make the throw. He's got to throw a better pass. Cumberland's open. He overshoots him. And these are the plays that, if you're a quarterback, you've got to begin to make.
Rex Ryan and the Jets will fall to 2-9. Hard to believe side that this was a team that started the year 1-0, that opening day win over the Raiders. Then went to Lambeau week 2, led the Packers 21-3, and basically from that point it has been one disaster after the next for these Jets. Vic looking right, goes through his progressions, nowhere to throw. They finally protect the quarterback tonight. Penalty marker comes in from the line judge. Smith runs ahead to the 49. A pickup of 7 will await the penalty.
Holding, number 66 offense. 10-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Now, I'm going to show you, you got to have a chance to make some plays, because if your receivers is going to come open, you've got to be able to make these throws. Instead of running around, you've got to be able to make the throws. Actually, the slot receiver, look, right there. Got to be able to make that throw and drive the ball home to Percy Harvin streaking down the middle of the field. In the meantime, Geno Smith was sort of scrambling around, didn't have his vision downfield for Percy Harvin running deep on the play.
Penalty was called to Willie Colon, the one-time Super Bowl champ with the Steelers. So that pushes him back to the 32, where it's 3rd and 18. Jailbreak, they somehow are unable to get to Smith. Little shovel pass ahead to Johnson, who was nearly upended at the 40. 9 yards, well short of the first down, needed to get to the 50. Forced out of bounds by the safety Brooks.
Jets offense truly struggling tonight, regardless of the quarterback in the game, whether it's Geno Smith or Michael Vick. They've had opportunities, whether it was Decker streaking down the field or Percy Harvin. You know, Jim Schwartz, the defense, they're going to come after the quarterback. You know you're going to get hit, but you're also going to have opportunities to make plays, Spiro, and that's where the Buffalo Bills defense have just, I think, created enough havoc in the mind of the quarterback and with the protection scheme, and they've been able to win the psychological battle.
8th punt of this game for Ryan Quigley. The early shank had another block that resulted in a Buffalo touchdown. This one takes a Bills bounce. Jets unable to get to it, so it is officially a 59-yard punt, and look who's coming into the game. E.J. Manuel, the second-year quarterback, when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Voya Financial, changing the way you think of retirement. And by Subway Restaurants. Get your own big hot pastrami melt at Subway.
38-3 Buffalo. Kyle Orton, with some kind of a night, is finished for the evening. So E.J. Manuel, who is making his first appearance since the benching Solomon after their Week 4 loss in Houston. A decision by Marrone that really changed the path of this Bills season. Manuel benched after a really good start, began the year 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, he still has a future in Buffalo. There's no doubt. Has to continue to develop. Got to begin to process things much faster and still throw the ball and deliver it with accuracy. That comes over the years. Remember, Kyle Orton's a 10-year veteran. We've seen him struggle at times. And obviously, if you're E.J. Manuel, you've got to continue to work hard. And when you have opportunities and moments like this, you just still want to stay productive throwing the football.
Here's Dixon. What a night he has had. Barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. And that will take us to the 2-minute warning. Tackle made by Jets cornerback Marcus Williams. 38-3 Buffalo. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Second-year quarterback E.J. Manuel, who began the season as Doug Marrone's starter, benched after that second straight loss in Week 4 on relief of Kyle Orton with under 2 minutes left in his fourth quarter. Dixon dumped for a loss behind the line of scrimmage. Tackle made by Copels. So this will go down as the most lopsided meeting between these two since 1989 when the Bills beat the Jets 37-0.
Yeah, and Michael Vick has to be disappointed with his performance. Remember when we spoke with him last night, he said he had been visualizing his performance in this game over the last few days. Typically when players are able to focus and visualize themselves in the moment, they tend to come out and play well. We just didn't see that from Michael Vick, going 7 of 19, throwing an interception, and it was wildly inaccurate tonight.
Colton Schmidt. Haven't called his name too many times tonight. Now Jeremy Curley from just inside the 40. Penalty markers coming, a couple behind the play. Could be an illegal block. 44-yard punt. Curley on a 14-yard run back.
During the kick, illegal block in the back, number 15, the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
It's on Salim Hakeem, one of the backup wide receivers for the Jets. Thursday Night Football comes back in 2 weeks. Tony Romo and the Cowboys taking on the Bears as two of the NFL's storied franchises meet in primetime. Thursday Night Football, December the 4th, 8 Eastern, live on NFL Network. Well, the Jets continuing to play out the string. There was some hope among their fan base that they could maybe build on what they did a couple of weeks back with that home win over the Steelers, ending an 8-game losing streak. But boy, that was not the case here tonight. First and 10, Smith from the shotgun from inside the 30. Pass over the middle is caught. Curley inside Buffalo territory. And we run out of bounds at about the 43 after a pass play of 28. Updated look at what the postseason picture looks like in the AFC. Big win for Buffalo. They'll end this 2-game losing streak, Sam, and get to 6-5 as they fight with a number of teams. And again, they'll take on Cleveland at home next week.
Well, now is the time to start stacking some wins. You want to continue to advance. You got to knock off Cleveland at home, because Cleveland, they're in the hunt. They're up there in the playoff picture.
First down pass to the screen to Johnson inside the 40, taking on tacklers after a pickup of 4 yards. Special thanks to our entire crew tonight. Jonathan Siegel sitting in for our usual producer Vic Frank, Chris Fenson our director, and the rest of the gang: Andy Friedman, George Wishart, Justin Haley, Kid J. Fiano, our statistician in the booth, Webster Lynn, also Gary Brown, and our spotter, Rich Gannon. As this one will be the final play of the night, Smith just runs it out of bounds, fitting in for the New York Jets. A night that belonged under incredible circumstances. The record snowfall over the last week in Buffalo. You wondered how the Bills would be affected. They stormed out of the gates and dominated their division rivals here in Detroit. 38-3 the final as Buffalo gets to 6-5, and a long season of frustration continues for Rex Ryan and the Jets. They fall to 2-9.
And the fans here who have traveled to Detroit from Western New York are happy to see their team come away with a win. Can't say enough about how the Bills have handled the distractions of the week, to be able to dig themselves out of the snow and dig their ways out of that 2-game losing streak. They got back on track tonight in a big way.
And boy, the Bills will start to make immediate preparations for what is shaping up to be an enormous game in the AFC next Sunday against the Cleveland Browns team that won again yesterday, come from behind, and now get their record to 7-4. Let's go downstairs. Steve Tasker standing by with one of the stars for the Bills, Robert Woods.
I'm standing here with Robert Woods. Robert, a career night for you, 8 catches, 118 yards. Tell me, how did you guys think you were going to show up for this game? I mean, what was your anticipation of what this game would go and with this result?
Yeah, I mean, we were off, sitting at home for a while. Schedule got changed, but we knew we had to come here and play and rebound. And, 2 losses, we had to come back and win one.
What about your night? I mean, you had a career night, your best night as a pro. You started things off with a touchdown. Did you feel like things were going to move your way, or how did you feel this game was going to go personally for you having a great night?
Yeah, I mean, it felt pretty good all week, and then coming into this game, a lot of man coverage, and just had to beat the one-on-one, and, Cal was putting the balls perfectly for me, and, end up winning.
Robert Woods, 118 yards and a touchdown. Congratulations on a big win against a division rival and also on the road in a neutral site.
Yeah, sir. Thank you.
All right, have a great game. We'll see you down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Travel safe.
All right, so a career night for Robert Woods. 9 catches for $118, Sally, in that early touchdown. How impressed were you with what we saw from the Bills tonight?
Well, how about their ability to evolve from throwing the ball to Sammy Watkins and then be able to find another weapon in the offense like Robert Woods? I think it bodes well for this football team moving forward.
Buffalo wins it 38-3. They move to 6-5, and now that countdown is on to that big one coming up in Buffalo next Sunday against Cleveland. Coming up next on the CBS station, Scorpion already in progress, followed by NCIS Los Angeles. Special thanks to our fantastic CBS crew. Now for Steve Tasker, Solomon Wilcox, this is Spiro Ditas saying so long and good night from Detroit. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.